Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Hello and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube, where today I'm going to rearrange my Marvel Legends Spider-Man villain shelf. I already have 3 villains up on the shelf. First, of course, is the high-flying Vulture there on a flight stand, looking pretty menacing and pretty great. Next to him, I have Rhino, and this is the classic Build-A-Figure Rhino, not that vintage card Rhino that they recently put out. I decided I didn't need to upgrade or update that one. I'm very happy with the Build-A-Figure. I love the Crazy Man Screaming Head, so that Rhino stays. And then I have Juggernut there. This was the Build-A-Figure from one of the X-Men waves, and I have him up on this shelf because I really love that issue where Spider-Man takes on the Juggernut. Not their only confrontation, of course, but I figure he earned a place on the Spider-Man shelf because of how classic that issue is. I do have another Juggernut on my X-Men shelf, one of my many X-Men shelves. But I'm rearranging this shelf today, and I wanted to share a look into what I'm doing. So next, I'm going to add the Green Goblin. Yes, one of Spider-Man's more well-known nemesis. Of course, he's been in some movies. But I have him on a flight stand as well and on his Goblin glider. Looking pretty cool there. And then I'm going to add another one who's been in some movies, none other than Dr. Octopus. And there we go, I'll slide him back here. Now he's just in the back, kind of just because his tentacles are so friggin' big and long that I need I need to make sure I can fit everyone else kind of around him. So I'm just gonna kind of stick him in the back there. And after that, I think I'm going to add maybe a not so popular Spider-Man villain, but one that I really like. I'm going to put Hydro Man up on the shelf. This was the Hydro Man that came out when, what was it, Far From Home came out. So there we go. I like having him on that shelf. And I'll slide the camera out just a little, zoom out a little bit so you can see there the full shelf. All right, so continuing along, I do have a kind of joke character on the shelf that I picked up on a whim, and I didn't really know where else to put him. I have Webman up here, yes. So we're just gonna kind of slide Webman into the back. Not exactly the most prominent of Spider-Man villains, but still a villain nonetheless. So we'll just kind of slide him back here, a little bit out of the way, just to acknowledge that he exists. All right, moving along, I think I'm going to kind of fill in the sides a little bit. I'm gonna put the Scorpion here. Now, I really like this Scorpion figure. I know it is comic accurate, but I do wish they kind of painted the face so it wasn't all green. You know, I did pre-order that vintage card, 90s cartoon style Scorpion, which this one might end up getting replaced by on my shelf for a little while. I might trade them back and forth. But, all right, let's see. Let's move on to the next one. How do we feel about the Hobgoblin? Now, one thing I want to show off, this is the I think it was the Space Venom Wave Hobgoblin, but it is a different head. This is the Toy Biz Hob Goblin Head. I really love the Toy Biz Hob Goblin Head, and I originally did this mod for the vintage card Hobgoblin, which, while I don't dislike or anything, for some reason I just like this version so much more. So I'm putting Hobgoblin here, and this is also the Toy Biz glider that he's on, just to give him a little more height. So I'll put him back here, kind of like Green Goblin, why not? Alright, and then moving right along, how about the Sandman? So I recently did a video comparing the Build-A-Figure Sandman and this Sandman, and I decided to put this one on my shelf. So I'll slide him back here. Again, kind of a bit of a taller character, so he fits well back here. There we go. I think that'll be a good fit. Alright, then I think I'll go with a custom that I have on my shelf because I'm desperately waiting for the official thing to come out, and that would be Molten Man. Now, this was really just a ex nihilo figure with a, I think it's a nuke head that I painted over, and I just kind of gave him a little more gold, made him a little more shiny. I'll tell you what, I think I will swap him for Sandman. Hey, I'm sure you probably weren't expecting to see me all of a sudden in the middle of the video like this. Literally, as I was editing this video together, the Marvel Legends live stream just happened, where they announced a Molten Man figure. Of course, he's part of a 5-pack on Amazon, where I really don't want anyone else from the 5-pack, so we'll see what happens with that. But we're getting him, so ignore my whole ranting about, oh, I wish I had a Molten Man figure, because now we have one. Back to the video. Kind of slide him back here. Come on. There we go. I'll stick Sandman right there. There we go. Alright, so Molten Man's back there. For the angle of the camera is a little hard to see him, but he's there. Next, I think I'll put up the Jackal. Another Spider-Man villain that I've grown to really enjoy. You know, I know some people hate all the Clone Saga stuff, but he's one of the reasons why I care about the Jackal at all. And then I think I'll throw Marlin up. Yes, this is a pretty recent figure, but a pretty important Spider-Man character, I'd say. One who has been popping up quite a bit over the past, I don't know, since the 2000s. So we'll stick him there. And then maybe we will put up Mysterio. Yes, I'll keep him kind of right centered there. Kind of have him in a dynamic pose, you know, the whole, like, I am Mysterio kind of pose. And then, how do we feel about some Morbin time? Let's put Morbius up here. Now, I know Morbius isn't always a villain. He has definitely been heroic in nature at times, but I think I'm going to put him right there. You know, he did first appear kind of as a nemesis to Spider-Man, so that's why he's up here. Now, of course, we need to put one of the first villains Spider-Man has ever faced on the shelf, and that would be the Chameleon. So here he is. Now, you know, one thing, I do like Chameleon in the suited body. I would love an animated series Chameleon from the 90s animated series, and like that purple costume with that weird belt that was the control mechanism of how he changed his appearance. I would love that. All right, the next figure on the shelf might be one of the oldest figures I have on display, and it is this lizard. I believe this was a Toy Biz Spider-Man Classics lizard, and I have the lizard Build-A-Figure, and he's like a dinosaur, you know, and I don't dislike him, but I like lizard looking like this. I have that Walmart one on pre-order that is on the vintage card back, and I will definitely be upgrading him with that one. But that one has great head options and stuff, and while this is still a good figure, it might not be the lizard that I'm going to keep on display forever. I'm going to shift the camera down a little bit. We can get the whole shelf in view here. Not too many characters left to put on. I'll add Shocker, and this is from that vintage card back. I still have the other one from, God, what was that? The Ultimate Goblin Wave? But this is like my classic Shocker. I love that look of Shocker. And I'll also put another shocking character up there with him. The Electro from the vintage card wave that came out 2020, I want to say. Really like that they gave him hands that had electricity and hands that didn't have electricity. Great touch on Hasbro's part. We'll put in Craven the Hunter next. And Craven I love Craven. I think he's a great character. Craven's Last Hunt, legitimately one of my favorite Spider-Man stories ever. So that's why he gets to be a little more front and center. And now I think I will joining the shelf will be my favorite two Spider-Man villains, as sacrilegious as it might be, Venom, and of course, Carnage. Now I do have a dedicated symbiote shelf as well, which has other versions of Venom and Carnage on it. But this is really my main Spider-Man villain shelf. There is little room for expansion on this, always some characters I could add. If you're asking yourself, hey Dan, where are characters like Kingpin, or the Prowler, or Tombstone, or even Black Cat, I have another vigilante shelf that has like street level heroes and some of those street level villains on it. So that's where Kingpin resides, like Boomerang and things like that. But no Spider-Man shelf would be complete without Spider-Man. So there we go. I have a Spider-Man front and center on this shelf because, you know, it is a Spider-Man shelf. Now, these are some pretty crazy odds for Spider-Man to face, but still a wonderful display shelf that I've grown to love very much. And I have a couple multiple versions of some of these characters, so sometimes I change things up and I just put a different version of the character on the shelf, but this is pretty much how I like it to stay. As I said, I just changed it up because I took out that old Build-A-Figure Sandman and put in that vintage card back one. But overall, a pretty good shelf. So thanks for checking this video out. If you have any comments, please leave them below. You can always like and subscribe to the video. Until then, I've been Dan. This is my Spider-Man's Villain Shelf. You've been pretty awesome. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Come geek out with us.